seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow, true peril is always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard, who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight that symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty. Remember real clear years ago in the swamps of South Georgia, cane pulling crossman in my hands while I needed to be growed up. Homemade ice cream and barbecue and the family on Friday nights. 10-lane ramp on Saturday right before the morning light. Came a time I was old enough and I learned about the gun. And every night in summertime I answered to what I done. Those today what forgot about the way it used to be. They got no respect and no cold steel, just games on TV. A burning hell before I sell my rights away from me. It's high time we embrace the tool that keeps all men free. Good morning, Revolution Radio listeners. The sun is rising across this great United States, and that means straight from the heart of Texas. It is time for Clayton Douglas, the Free American. Take it away, Clayton.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas. And let me see if I'm broadcasting here on all the places that I'm supposed to be. All right. Looks like I am. Looks like I am. I'll take calls today. And I am trying to get up on some other things here, and I'm having a little bit of a problem here. But that's pretty par for the course here. Par for the course. Today, I don't have a guest. Dr. Jake Wade's usually my guest on Fridays. He's traveling. And what I've highlighted here is the root of corruption in the police state. I was one of the first victims, not the first by any long shot, but I was one of the victims of this burgeoning police state. I went out to California, to Phoenix, to Arizona when they passed helmet laws here, and I wanted to know what everything was. I was there in Phoenix when the CIA brought the acid in. Went through the love generation. I was one of the people that protected the hippies in the parks in Texas. Kind of what us bikers have always done. And why is this thing not working here? I will take calls today. The phone number is 855-655-8461. The root, what I call the root of the whole police state right now, is what I've been telling you for years. If a man with a badge can walk up to you and say, what's that in your, what's that I smell? You've been smoking a marijuana here? You've been, what's that in your pocket? Let's see what's in your pocket, son. That white powder there, is that cocaine? Is that methamphetamine? Is that heroin? congratulations. You you're going to jail, son. We're going to get you time. You're going to go to prison. You're going to become one of the victims here because there was no victim. Whatever you had in your pocket was for your consumption, and technically, there's no law against that. As a matter of fact, one of the former guests that I've had on, did a lot of research on it. He put out papers on that said if you've got a controlled substance, and who makes the hemp plant? Who made the hemp plant a controlled substance? You can't even get high off of hemp. That's pretty. That's pretty incredible, I think. Why I don't know why my sound here. I've got a roaring here. Let me see if I can fix that. Just be patient with me a little bit today. Let's see if we can get this sound proper. Alright. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There we go. Alright. We'll take calls today at 855-655-8453. If we have listeners out there that's not brain dead, that aren't trolls, that didn't come here to try to upset me or do something like that. And by the way, if as soon as I see somebody being a troll, becoming a troll on there, I just block them out. So you folks can listen to them if you want. I don't have to. Yeah, 420's already passed. Yes, it has. This is a daily basis. You know, you can take whatever date you want, whatever numbers you want. 9/11, April 19th. Yeah, that's your prerogative. You can use whatever date you want. uh, okay. We just avoid all of those people in the chat room. If you want to call in, you can do that. Chat room, the phone number is 855-655-8453. I don't have a producer today, so I may not even be able to take the calls. If the calls are blocked, I won't do that. I won't take a call. So, okay. All right. Now let's see. Let me see if we can do this. Let me see if we can do this. We'll see how it plays out now that I've got the sound somewhat quieted down. Years ago, I financed, backed Jack Hara while he was writing Emperor Wears No Clothes. He was right on then, he's right on now. Let's see if we can get this, how does it sound?
If we choose to control cannabis, to regulate it, and to tax it so that those monies, California finally gets its fair share and we take those profits away from our criminal drug cartels.
In the fall of 2010, the population of California voted on Proposition 19, a bill intended to liberalize and regulate the cultivation, use, and sale of marijuana. With the outcome uncertain until the last minute, the proposition was eventually rejected.
Proposition 19 to legalize marijuana voted down in California.
46% of the population, however, voted in favor. This suggests, in the state where most of the important cultural revolutions have originated, that sooner or later the proposal will become law. In 1996, California was the first state of the Union to legalize marijuana for medicinal use. This has triggered a true economic revolution. Cultivation permits are now relatively easy to obtain.
Card is printing. I'm going to give you this. This is your cultivation certificate, sir. If you choose to grow a garden, be sure to post a copy of that in plain sight in front of your garden.
There are hundreds of thousands of California citizens who can now legally purchase marijuana by simply obtaining a medical certificate. By presenting their personal card to any of the licensed dispensaries, anyone can bring home a few ounces of their favorite smoke or a portion of edibles such as pies, ice cream, or cookies, all infused with marijuana. You have the ice cream?
The ice creams and a lot of those are all one dose. And in general, the cakes and cookies here are made with more of an indica hybrid, and those go by dosage. The green label or single strength, the red or triple.
There are over 5,000 licensed dispensaries in California, and the need to supply them all has sparked a multi-million-dollar business across the state. Marijuana cultivation has literally replaced what used to be the #1 crop in California, wine. Entire rural areas, especially in the north of San Francisco, have been converted for marijuana cultivation. And those who don't own farmland make do with their own homes, turning their basements, garages, and sometimes even their entire houses into growing gardens capable of producing up to 3 or 4 crops a year. Dozens of manuals and videos freely available on the internet will teach you how to turn a simple apartment room into the most sophisticated greenhouse, complete with thermal isolation, ventilation, and irrigation systems. That includes, of course, an artificial illumination system capable of fully replacing the light of the sun. Just as much information is available on what seeds to buy, how to plant them, and grow them, on temperatures.
All right. We've got our noise back again. Try to get that down. Incredible here. Incredible here. All right. It's fading back to a reasonable level here. And you let me know what how the sound's coming through here on the chat room, and we'll just ignore any all of these trolls here. You know, this was according to Popular Mechanics, marijuana was a billion-dollar crop in the 30s. And already a multi-million-dollar crop in the areas in California right now. The 16 states, now a long time ago, oh yeah, I'm a New World Order shill. Oh, I just love those kind of people. I've been doing this for 25 years, folks. Telling you about the CIA and the Mossad drug running. That's all available in my book, Mystery Babylon. I have people like Larry Pratt on here, and then you've got these people on here that are trying to put me down for what I do. I just block them. I don't have to look at them. You can look at them if you want to. but I don't have to. You can listen to them until you get tired of it, and then you can kick them or silence them too. The thing about the marijuana, the hemp, is they do want to. They first of all they make it illegal, and yet it's the government that's bringing it in. It is the CIA that's bringing it in mass quantities. They're bringing marijuana in from Mexico in tanker trucks. Some lucky cops found that, and I recall somebody, there was an incident in California where somebody was caught with about 100 pounds of good Colombian, and it was a setup. Everybody went to jail. They raided the place, and everybody went to jail. And then, within about 4 days, everybody walked. Why? Nobody was charged. The pot disappeared, and everybody that was involved in it walked. No charges filed, nothing. Why? Because the people bringing it out were CIA. The people buying it were California state boys, and so they busted each other. Now, if the CIA is bringing the drugs into this country, and they are, when George Bush was CIA director, he was behind that all. He's the one that sent William Tyree, who is now doing life in prison. He sent William Tyree down to build the radio guide towers to bring 100 planes, at least 100 planes, into Albrook Air Force Base in Panama, by which was flown into a protected airport called Mena, Arkansas, protected by the governor who later became president. And so now if the government is bringing the drugs in, they're selling it to you, and they set up some of the drug dealers in California. Got a whole story on that. They set the drug dealers up, so they knew who was buying it. They knew who was buying it. My God. What a racket, huh? Why is it a racket? Because the bankers are in the corporations that sprung up around them, as Thomas Jefferson warned you, are they are behind the prison systems. They are profiting off of the private prisons, the prison systems. They're profiting off of the police state that they've created. Now, you saw what happened in Boston, in Watertown. We had SWAT team after SWAT team, black uniformed officers. Well, they kind of got around posse comitatus because they militarized the police. They were looking for two guys. One guy, one of them had already killed, the other one they almost killed. And in doing so, in looking for them, they rousted people out of their homes. Innocent people rousted out of their homes. And boy, if you'd had a little garden growing in Massachusetts when there's no medical marijuana there, if you'd had a garden growing there, you would have you'd been in a little bit of trouble, wouldn't you? If you had guns in there in your home in New Orleans, you ran into a little bit of trouble, didn't you? Although it's legal to own the guns. The police state that you witnessed at Watertown is the same thing that is happening now and happened then. When they could come into your house, oh, is that pot you got in your car? Is that, what, can I smell marijuana here? You've been smoking this stuff? You're in a police state. Now, with the reforms in California, and medical marijuana is still not the answer. That's just another one of the corporations that have sprung up. The Pfizer's out there. They're making more money off of Valium than they make off of heroin, and they've got troops guarding the heroin production fields. I mean, poppies grow all over Washington State. Why are we making it illegal? The answer is to tear down that wall between Mexico, replace it with tables. Let Americans buy what they want. If you want to smoke pot, if you want to do heroin, if you want to sniff cocaine, whatever you want to do, if you do it in the privacy of your home, in the company of your friends, we're not talking about any difference, a lot less dangerous. More people die from prescription drugs, folks, than die more people die from prescription drugs, far more than marijuana or the hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine. More people die from prescription medications than from drugs. Now, why, if you find somebody with a gram of cocaine and you put them in jail and you get them time, they become part of the slave labor state, and the prisons are making money off of them by renting them out, renting the inmates out to IBM or AT&T to make chips or to do this work. They even ran an ad in they ran an ad in a Phoenix paper for the prison systems saying, we make more than license plates. We make more than license plates. So, in addition to running the slave labor, to renting the inmates out to corporations, major corporations, they're also charging you, the taxpayer, $50,000 a year to keep one person in jail. I find that absolutely incredible. It is not the way things are supposed to be. Just not. Now, let me see. Why am I getting this little thing here? I don't understand what's happening over this computer here, but I'll try to get it operational here. Again, if you want to call in, the phone numbers 347-688-2902. Or you can call in toll free at 855-655-8453. And that's extension 805. Now, let me see if I can go back. Let me see if I can go back and pull some of this. This is the history of marijuana. This is a full movie. If you have a hard time hearing it, it is up on my website.
And night and day cycles, on harvesting, and on everything else you need to know to make the best out of your indoor cultivation. In the meantime, California marijuana has become the most valued on the national market. It is estimated that more than half of the grass consumed in the United States today comes from the West Coast plantations. But indoor cultivation has already spread across the country. In any house of any suburb of any American city, police can now expect to find a cultivation of marijuana.
In the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've seen a great phenomenon of indoor marijuana growth, and that's all around the country.
In the meantime, the number of states considering the legalization or having already legalized marijuana continues to increase. In Oregon, for example, finding a cannabis cafe today is almost as ordinary as it is in California.
I have patients that are on stage 5 of cancer. People were expecting them to die. Their families were just ready for them to go away. But then they started using medical marijuana, and their appetites came back. They left some of those pharmaceuticals that were so harsh. Many times I've gotten calls for people at the Veterans Administration Hospital here in Portland, and they couldn't medicate out of public view. They had gone through procedures for 4 to 6 hours, and because of that, they needed a place to use their medicine. They had to go to an alley. They had to go to the back seat of their car. That was unsafe. So we created this place for them, for us, a niche where we could use our medicine out of public view and enjoy each other. We're social creatures. There's nothing wrong with that.
More and more scientific research keeps adding up, confirming the validity of therapeutic marijuana. Other studies comparing toxicity and the risk of addiction among the most popular drugs have placed marijuana last, preceded by nicotine, heroin, cocaine, alcohol, and even caffeine. More and more doctors are taking an open stand in favor of medical marijuana.
Marijuana is much less dangerous than many other substances in less restrictive schedule, like morphine and cocaine, not to mention the unscheduled legal mass killers, tobacco and alcohol. Of course, marijuana does have proven medical usefulness for some conditions.
As an interested physician pharmacologist, I became very much taken by the fact that cannabis was analgesic, relieved pain. It lowered the likelihood of nausea and vomiting in cancer chemotherapy. It relieved muscle cramps in people with multiple sclerosis. It increased appetite. It helped AIDS patients both in gaining weight and in treating their nausea.
Dr. Lester Greenspoon, professor emeritus at Harvard Medical School, conducted in 1967 an in-depth research on all existing scientific material on marijuana. He eventually concluded that marijuana is by no means the dangerous and devastating drug described by the propaganda.
I learned that despite my training in medicine and science, I had been brainwashed like just about every other citizen in this country.
Dr. Greenspoon has written several books on marijuana and is considered today one of the leading experts on the subject.
This absurd continuation of this prohibition is largely a function of ignorance. It turns out that marijuana came across as a remarkably non-toxic drug. People find smoking marijuana very useful for a whole host of symptoms.
But all this is systematically ignored at federal level, where the legalization of marijuana keeps being rejected without a scientific or sound basis.
Is there a better way, and some people have suggested looking into
It's Robert Mueller
a
they're
system of
talking to.
legalization that might be effective in stemming the tide of drugs from Mexico and then the border wars and the immigration problems from Mexico? Have you considered this as a possibility?
I think anybody who looks at this problem considers it, and ultimately when you look at it, rejects it.
Let me ask you about
too
the
many
way
people, I'm sorry, but there are too many individuals, both parents and others, who have lost their lives to drugs to give a ready answer that it should be legalized.
Name me a couple of parents who've lost their lives to marijuana.
Can't.
Exactly, you can't, because that hadn't happened. And there hadn't been a wave, because that's been a constant thing in America since Harry Anslinger, because African Americans used it and saw it as something that was crippling and gave it to the Latin Americans and put an ethnic tone to it. When have we, is there some time we're going to see that we ought to prioritize meth, crack, cocaine, and heroin and deal with the drugs that the American culture is really being affected by and lives are being lost.
They don't care if marijuana is the only drug that can alleviate your pain and suffering so that you can live longer, so that you can take your chemotherapy, so that you have a reasonable quality of life. They would rather fight the war on drugs even though they know that there are sick and dying patients being denied relief because of their position. Unconscionable.
So absurd and untenable has become the government's position on marijuana that more and more people are beginning to suspect that the prohibition is not based on the presumed dangers of its chemical compounds, but on the tremendous potential that hemp has always shown in history for industrial production. Known since ancient times as the miracle plant, the sister of man, a gift from the gods, the history of cannabis is deeply linked to human history. Since the dawn of civilization, the cannabis plant has been an invaluable source for the production of textiles, paper, food, and fuel materials, in addition to providing a wide range of important medicinal remedies.
You can make paper out of it, you can make cloth out of it, you can make cord out of it, you can make oil, you can make medicine.
You can make food out of hemp seed oil. You can burn it in a lamp. You can make rope. You can make parachute cordage and tie your shoes. And the Constitution was really printed on hemp paper.
You can make plastic from hemp, paper from hemp, wood from hemp, oil from hemp, fuel from hemp, name it.
The cannabis plant is very resistant, can grow at almost any latitude, requires no herbicides or pesticides to be cultivated, and grows faster than almost all other crops. Cannabis can produce up to 25 tons of biomass a year per cultivated acre, an extraordinary feat.
All right, what we're talking about here is there are two companies, corporations, that sprung up around. Now, if you deal with me, hang on for just a moment. I got to add somebody here. One of my other computers just went down, and I am trying to record this on another segment. But there are two companies, corporations, that sprung up around these banks. Now, let me see if I can get this up here. Hold on. There are there's a DuPont and, of course, a Rockefeller's Standard
Since it
Oil.
appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
All right, great. I got it. The DuPont worked with Rockefeller and Mellon Bank, one of the Federal Reserve owners. Mellon Bank was the banker for DuPont. DuPont's nephew, Harry Anslinger, with the assistance of William Randolph Hearst, demonized the plant, the hemp plant, by calling it marijuana, because the blacks, the musicians, the Mexicans out there, they've known about hemp for years. And I'll tell you real truthfully here, I've been smoking pot for 40 years, and I am as healthy as anyone on this planet. As a matter of fact, I'm too healthy to get medical marijuana. Why? Because I don't go to doctors. I don't deal with doctors. I mean, a doctor, if I got a broken leg, I go to a hospital. Now, I did have a accident, motorcycle accident, contrived motorcycle accident, and I went to the hospital where they ran up a $750,000 hospital bill and kept me really drugged on Halcyon, Haldol, and Valium for 3 months. Got no memory of 3 months in the hospital. Was it because I had a bump on the head? Was it because I had 3 broken ribs and a broken collarbone? Come on, folks. No, it was because they wanted to run up the $750,000 hospital bill. It was because they wanted me silenced. They did not want me operational. They did not want me doing the radio show. And so they kept me sedated. They're doing the same things to our veterans now. And the drugs they were giving me, the contraindications indicate you're just not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to put these kind of drugs together. So this was an attempt to silence me. If I had allowed them to inject me with whatever it is that was in that the purple liquid in that syringe, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And because I got this whole paraphernalia industry started, because I believed there, in my own experience, there was nothing wrong with marijuana. Nothing. No problems at all. I thought it'd be legal. I didn't understand the corruption that was happening. I didn't understand that. I didn't know what was going on. I've spent years studying this now, and I'm telling you that this is the root of our problems. This is the root of our problems. This is the corruption. And they don't want us being self-sufficient. If you're growing a garden in your basement or your backyard, again, there's all kinds of people out there that want to buy it. There's all kinds of people out there that want it. But that would make you self-sufficient. They want you working for the corporation, or they want you in their prisons working for their corporations. It's so clear, it's almost a mind blower, that it is so clear what is happening here. Why can't the average man on the street see this? Instead, you've been brainwashed by the TV to think, well, it's okay to buy these drugs. It's okay to buy this Luvox. It's okay. You need this antacid. You need this. You need these pain pills. You need these sleeping pills. So you have been brainwashed, and they have basically. They would basically, you'd rather see your children go to jail, your husband go to jail, get put into this whole slave system, rather than allow somebody to do it. Now, it's working in California. It's working there. But again, the doctors don't need to be in this. Why do you have to pay a doctor $100 to write you a prescription for something that God gave you? Not much difference than them trying to take away your unalienable rights right now. And that's what's happening in Boston. That's what happened because of Sandy Hook. That's what's happened because of 9/11. And that's what Waco was, a psychological warfare. They thought it was okay. They tried to say they had a meth lab in the thing. They didn't. They did that so they could have use of helicopters to go in there. All of this is up on my website, along with the truth about marijuana. My God, folks, this has been the biggest scam. They stole $1 million crop. 10,000 products made out of hemp, and we got to buy the raw materials from China and have it shipped over here. It'll grow everywhere in this country. Now, I wrote a book about this 45 years ago. What would happen? What the United States would be like if we, not more than, if we legalized it, if we abolished the laws against victimless crimes. That's all we're talking about, folks. That's all we are talking about. Abolishing all laws against victimless crimes, giving you the right to one of your unalienable rights, worship the way you want. Now, I've got a friend here that was on my radio show. His name's Roger Christie. He was a friend of my son. My son joined his THC church ministry. Got a card that said this is part of his religious sacrament, just like the American Indians and peyote that they use in their ceremonies. We got historical backing on that. And yet, after Roger came on my show, he was put in prison, thrown in jail. He's been there for 3 years without a trial. Without a trial. Why? Because, he's a danger to this country. He's a danger. He's a flight risk. He lives on an island. He lives on an island. Where's he going to go? Now, hopefully, they've tried to get him out. They've tried to get senators out. They got millions of people writing him, and they're trying to get him out, all over a plant, all over a simple plant. Now let's see if we can get our film back here, The True History of Marijuana, a full movie here. See if we can get that back up. And we're checking the chat room.
Extinction of animal species, global warming. And most importantly, our slavery to oil, which could be erased at any time by simply going back to cannabis as the basis for all fuel production.
100 years ago, the farmer produced all of the fiber, all of the medicine, all of the fuel, and all of the food that the society consumed. That's what farming is. You raise those 4 basic categories, fiber, food, medicine, and fuel, and you sell them in the cities. They're basic necessities of life. The money flows out of the city back to the landowner and to the producer, where land is the means of production of wealth. It's been that way for thousands of years.
Now, what have I told you, folks? What have I told you over and over again? Anytime a communist regime takes over, they go after 3 classes of people in order. And the farmer is the first one. They do not want you feeding yourself. They do not want you being self-sufficient. Living on a farm, and this is what my concept of Liberty Villages was 10 years ago before they tried to kill me. if we grow our own food and we generate our own energy with the technology that we have available, you can put a satellite dish up and pull down the internet. You can grow your own food and generate your own industry from solar, from wind, and there's more than that. There's magnetics, which there is a violation of national security to grow this. Now, I just watched Sirius, a movie put out by the Disclosure Project, and they backed up exactly what I warned you about, exactly what I've talked about. If they don't want you to know that we've had the technology for thousands of years, and we have the ability to have lunch on the moon, at a base on the moon, and be back here in time for dinner without ever using a drop of fuel. Not one drop of fuel. That is the reason the UFO, they deride us, just like they demonize anybody that smokes hemp, because smoking the hemp, basically, if you watch Sirius, you can see that they're communicating with extraterrestrials. I wrote about mind-to-mind contact 45 years ago. Hopefully I'll get that out this year. And I can if I've got a little bit of support here, if I've got a little bit of help from you. The books that I've got now are history. The books I've written 45 years ago and I'm updating now are a view into the future. They're a view into the future, folks. All right, let's see here. Rick Simpson, yes, I've had Rick Simpson on my show. Rick Simpson discovered that cannabis, THC, cures cancer. Matter of fact, I had Rick on my show not too long ago. I had Rick, he was calling in from someplace around Yugoslavia, Bosnia, Kosovo, someplace like that. And he was in exile from Canada. Now, you can grow hemp in Canada. You can grow it there. You can ship it into here. And that's, but if you're curing cancer, you are threatening the multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. The pharmacies, the pharmaceuticals, the oil, and the power. You've got we have, just like this film is telling you, the farmers, if the farmers were growing hemp, we would restore the basis of every civilization. The basis of every civilization is the self-sufficient family farm, said Richard Kelly Hoskins. That's right. Rick Simpson has Run for the Cure. I believe that's his website too. All right. This whole computer is not responding, and I don't know why. I'm trying to get that one up here. All right. back here to the history of marijuana.
Today, 100 years later, the farmer doesn't produce any fiber. If they do, it's cotton, which accounts for 50% of the pesticides and herbicides used in the agricultural sector. The farmer doesn't raise any medicine. It's all been monopolized by the pharmaceutical companies. The farmer doesn't raise any fuel. It's all been monopolized by the petrochemical companies. And if you go into a grocery store and look at the ingredients on the package, you'll find out how rapidly the farmer is being displaced from their heritage of food production. It's all been taken over by the synthetic manufacturers who, in producing these synthetic products, create the toxic waste and has the byproducts with which we're having such a tough time dealing. And not only that, it concentrates wealth in the hands of fewer and fewer people all the time, because the means of production of wealth is no longer the land. It is now the factories and the shareholders and the people who own the controlling interest in those corporations.
But there are other reasons not to smoke marijuana. The irony is that the United States used the fact of having imposed on the rest of the world the severe prohibition on cannabis to justify its increasingly harsh laws at home against its own marijuana users. Nearly every country in the world, including the United States, is a signatory to an international law banning the use, sale, cultivation, and possession of dangerous drugs such as heroin and marijuana. Despite this prohibition, however, the number of marijuana smokers kept growing, especially among the young. With the hippie revolution, towards the end of the 1960s, marijuana came into the open, and the joint became the symbol of social rebellion and an affirmation of individual rights. Confused, people wanted to know more.
All right,
Faced with masses of youth who preached only peace and love, it was becoming more and more difficult to see the awful, bloodthirsty criminals described in the simple-minded propaganda of earlier decades. New scientific research was undertaken in Palo Alto, California, to better clarify the actual effects of marijuana on the individual. The conclusions were anything but terrifying.
Well, Bill, it's been about 2 hours since you got the drug. How do you feel?
Fantastic. Defiant? Not at all. Business-like? Not at all. Sheesh. Friendly. Extreme.
Would you be interested in taking part in a study like this again and having the same type of drug?
Sure.
You would. It's been a very pleasant experience for you.
I'll do it anytime you want.
We don't smoke marijuana.
In the meantime, Vietnam soldiers were discovering marijuana.
Well, it's hardly a shotgun. What we basically use it for on the LZ, and I guess even out in the field too, if you want to know, is that we use the shotgun. Oh, let me borrow that ball from you. This is probably all Sid's and we're getting busted, but I don't care.
And here, too, it became clear that cannabis did not increase one's aggressiveness. Quite the contrary.
Get really stoned. Then, like, who cares about the war?
Get stoned, don't care about
Many
war.
Hollywood stars also began to openly support the legalization of marijuana.
Actress Shirley MacLaine, for instance.
You should. 2 martinis will knock me flat. Pot, I just sort of sit around, Imagine, it's a big subject. Of course, marijuana, in my opinion, should be legalized. First of all, you'd have wall-to-wall prisons if you really meant that everybody who smoked it had to go to jail. So, how can you possibly enforce the law, for God's sake?
Yeah.
You'd be trampling over bodies to get to the next cigarette.
This sudden wave of freedom deeply worried the right-wing conservatives.
This is the time and this is the place to take off the gloves and sock it to us.
In 1968, Richard Nixon ran marijuana on the promise of restoring.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Make a donation or call in 855-655-8453, extension 805.
Television Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
What the year will remain a dictatorship. More, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for health care and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly